Hi everyone, my name is Liz and today I'm going to be showing you how to make an SDS PAGE Gel. It is a 12% SDS PAGE Gel and it's used in a Western blot. So here on the lab bench are the materials that you're going to need. So first you want to get these Novex cassettes and they look just like this here. They have a white strip on the bottom and one side is higher than the other. This side is lower and there's a little lip and that's where you will pour the gel. You will also need binder clips and all you do is you clip on either side of the cassette in order for it to stand up nicely on the bench top. So just have that there. And set these aside so you can pour your gel. You'll also need some Nano Pure water and you can put it in these 50 ml conical tubes. You'll also need a pipetter and these smaller pipettes and some tips. You'll need the 1.5 Tris HCl and make sure the pH says 8.84. You'll need this 0.5 Tris HCl, which is a pH of 6.8. And you'll need this 10% SDS, which actually gets heated in the microwave. And you'll need this 40% bisacrylamide, which is in the 20-degree fridge. And make sure that the solution is 37 by 5 by 1. You'll also need some 12 well combs for your gel. And from there you can get started. There are two steps to making this gel. You have a running gel and a stacking gel. So first you want to make your running gel. And what you can do is grab these conical tubes here. All right, so to make your gel, you want to grab two 50 conical tubes and you want to label them one running gel and the other stacking gel. We're going to start with the running gel, so you can just place the stacking gel tube off to the side. And you needed to grab the 10% SDS, which was heated in the microwave to dissolve the SDS. So after you heat in the microwave, it should be clear and there should be no more white precipitate. And so from there, all you need to do is add the contents of the recipe to your running gel tube. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And I'm actually going to make two gels just for efficiency. And so I'll start with adding 6 milliliters of the 40% acrylamide. Whenever you're making or following a recipe, it's also good to check off after you've added a reagent or set it aside. Next, I'm going to add 5 mils of the 1.5 molar Tris HCl. I'm going to add 8.7 mils of the water. calls for 200 microliters of the SDS. And so I'm going to take my P200 pipette and make sure that it's set to 200 microliters. Got a little bit to go. Okay. All set. Grab my tips. And then take the SDS. You're going to get 200 microliters and then add it into the tube. And you'll see it's a little bit of a viscous liquid, so you'll definitely be able to see when you add it to the running gel solution. So you can set that aside for now. Okay, next in the recipe, next you need to add 10% APS, which is just 0.1 grams of ammonium persulfate dissolved in 1 ml of water. And so you can put this in an Eppendorf tube and set it aside. You also need to add 10 microliters of a reagent called TEMED, and that's located in the fume hood. So it's recommended that because TEMED is quite strong, that you should add this before the APS when you're in your final steps of making the gel. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over to the fume hood and add 10 microliters of the TEMED that you add into the running gel. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew the top just a little bit to preemptively make it just easier for me to get the amount that I need. And I'm going to add 10 microliters, so I have a P20 pipette, and I'm just going to set it to the correct amount. Alright, so 10. Alright, so add this to the running gel. And in the fume hood, there will be a pipette in here that you use that's strictly for the fume hood, as well as tips. So next, we're just going to go ahead and add the APS. So in the final step, you're going to add 100 microliters of 10% APS. And from here, you want to move quickly, because once you add the APS, the gel is going to start solidifying. And so you'll want to make sure that your pipette is set to 100 microliters. Okay, so I added all of the ingredients. Just going to give it a little bit of a shake and make sure that everything is incorporated. And now you can pour the gel. So turning the cassette around so the shorter side is facing you, and you can feel free to tilt it as well, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And so you're going to pour the gel, this running gel, up until this line here. So I'm going to go ahead and just tilt it a little bit. You can see how the liquid fills in the cassette. Okay, and so in order to get rid of these bubbles here, you can add isopropanol, or you can add water, which is the overlay layer, just to get rid of the bubbles. And it is a layer that we will remove once this running gel is solidified. So I'm just going to add to the top. It's okay if it overflows just a little bit. And We are making 2, so we have enough to make another gel. Make sure that it's off to the side. Okay, so we still have plenty left. And again, you'll have the shorter side facing you, and just tilt it a little bit. All right. Pour it up to the second line. And then add the water or isopropanol for your overlay layer. And from there, you've poured the running gel, and you can set it off to the side and set your timer. It takes about 45 minutes to have the running gel solidified. And what's really great, while you wait, you still have some left in your tube, and you can check to see if it's starting to become solid. This will give you a good indication before you waited that 45 minutes whether or not the running gel actually worked. It should solidify, so just keep an eye on your running gel tube and make sure that you're seeing the gel solidify. So from there, we'll just wait, and in the meantime, you can make your stacking gel, and you can add all of the reagents except for the 10% APS and the TEMED. So as it gets closer to the running gel step, as it gets closer to the running gel solidifying, and then you can pour your stacking gel. So if you have everything ready to go ahead of time, it makes it really efficient. All right, so while you're waiting for your running gel to solidify, you can add all of the ingredients to your stacking gel tube except for the TEMED and the APS. So I've already added my Nano Pure water, which is 3.18 milliliters. Next, I'm going to add 1,260 microliters of the 0.5 molar Tris HCl. It's easier in this case to use a micropipette just because, sure, it's 1.26 milliliters, but that's harder to measure, so I'm going to go ahead and just use my P1000. And always double check your reagents because there is some overlap in terms of which reagents we're using for each gel, but the concentrations are different. So just keep that in mind. So I'm just changing it to reflect 260 to add the additional amount. It's always good to change your tips as well. All right, next I'm gonna go ahead and add 500 microliters of the 40% bisacrylamide, which is here. Set my pipette to 500. And finally, I'm going to add 50 microliters of the 10% SDS, which we heated earlier. And when you heat the SDS, it typically takes about 30 seconds in the microwave, and just give it a good swirl to make sure that all of the SDS is dissolved. Again, it's pretty viscous, so you can sort of tell that you've added it. Okay. And because the running gel is still solidifying and we're not yet ready to add the stacking gel, we're just gonna go ahead and set this aside and do other productive things in lab while we wait. All right, so luckily our running gel solidified, so that's great. We can move on to the stacking gel. So in your cassette, if you remember, we had the running gel poured to this line, and then we added water. So all you do is you pour the water on the top layer, pour it out in the sink, and then you're going to take a piece of filter paper and you're just gonna lightly go in, and you can tilt it a little bit and just get some water. You want it to just dry. And just be careful not to touch the gel. If you could sort of notice there's a little bit of a gel layer. And so we'll do that to both. And then you can, it's always helpful to tilt it a little bit to just catch the water so you don't have to go too far and touch the gel. Okay, great. So you also want to make sure that you have your combs handy. And now we just need to add the TEMED and the 10% APS, and then we can pour the stacking gel. All right, so I added the 5 microliters of TEMED and the 25 microliters of APS. And so I'm just gonna give it a quick little shake. And you're going to add the stacking gel in a similar fashion above the running gel. So again, you'll have the shorter side facing you, and you're going to fill it to this top part and just pour like so. Okay. Just want to make sure it doesn't fall. Okay. All right, and then you want to add the comb, and the comb will slide in, so the smooth side is going to be facing the cassette. So you have the lip that you can grab, and you just slide it in like so. And it's okay if some of the gel spills out. Just slide it in. All right, and there is your full gel. Let's see, it takes about 30 minutes for the stacking gel to solidify. And another helpful tip, while the comb is inside, or before you put away your gels after they're solidified, you can outline in Sharpie your wells, so that way when you actually will run the gel and add your sample, you'll be able to clearly see the wells, because when you remove the comb, it disappears. There's no way to indicate the well is there unless you have it outlined in Sharpie on the solid cassette. Okay, so with that, we're all finished with making the 12% SDS PAGE Gel. And you can do this right before you run a Western blot, or you can do this ahead of time and store the made gels in a bag. And if you're going to store them in a bag, you'll need to add a little bit of buffer. So you can add 1x SDS buffer, just a little bit to keep it moist, and it's not in a dry environment. And they just go in the large 20-degree fridge. And you can store them for a couple of weeks if you need it, or a few days. Whatever works for you, just as long as you add the buffer, and you're good to go. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful.